I think we're all here and settled in. I'll call the meeting to order for the Hotel Motel Tax Allocation Board for Wednesday, April 30th. Our first item on the agenda is to administer the oath of office for Ricky Allen.
So your term expired and was reappointed, so we have to do the oath again. Sorry to do that. I know, it feels like it just happened.
It
Sorry.
did just happen.
You want to do it quick?
That's fine. Is that fine? Do you want me to come down there? That's fine. Okay.
All right. Whenever you're ready.
Okay. I sure it's fine.
Okay. I, Ricky Allen,
I, Ricky Allen,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma
and the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma
and the Charter of the City of Pryor,
And the
Creek, Oklahoma. Sorry.
it's okay, and the Charter of the City of Pryor, Creek, Oklahoma,
That I will not knowingly receive directly or indirectly any money or other valuable thing
that I will not knowingly receive directly or indirectly any money or other valuable thing
for the performance or non-performance of any act or duty pertaining to my office,
for the performance or non-performance of any act or duty pertaining to my office,
other than the compensation allowed by law.
other than the compensation allowed by law.
I further swear or affirm
I further swear or affirm
that I will faithfully discharge my duties as Hotel Motel Tax Allocation Board Seat Number 2
that I will faithfully discharge my duties as Hotel Motel Tax Allocation Board Seat Number 2
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability. Please sign. Thank you.
Welcome back.
Thanks. Second meeting in a row. Gosh.
Okay, the next item up for discussion is discuss possibly approve the minutes for the January 30th, 2025 meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Oh, sorry, what are you doing?
We have a motion to approve the minutes from January 30th, 2025 meeting.
Okay. Hawkins?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Majors?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Dickinson?
Yes.
Item 4 is discuss possibly recommend council action regarding the grant application from Pryor Area Arts and Humanities Council for Missoula Children's Theater to be held June 9th through June 23rd, 2025 in the amount of $2,000.
I believe, Barbara, did you tell me that she was flooded in? Or
What?
no, this was, sorry, she called me and she let me know that she is flooded into her house and she was not able to be here tonight. I'm sorry, the woman who's gonna present that. Sue. Yeah, sorry, Sue.
Okay, so I think what we need to discuss before considering these is the amount of money available. Is that,
You might wanna move to item 6 to discuss that. It might be more relevant. But that's your decision.
I don't think we have enough money to do both these grants tonight available, and if we correct the percentage.
I understand, so I just wanted to say that I understand what you're saying about maybe a misinterpretation there, but this budget was the budget that was approved for this year by the board and the council.
So the council's already approved this budget, so we just roll with it.
It was approved at the start of the fiscal year, so it would be up to the board what you want to do, like if you don't want to spend all that money, I guess.
Okay,
But I just wanted to let you know that this is,
I guess we can just use it.
that's,
Okay. So the issue was the 10% of the 30%. This year we just put 3% in there instead of the typical 10%. So if there was 10%, we didn't really have any money left to allocate. So, but this was the budget we approved, so this is the budget we'll use. So. Okay. Is there any discussion on this, grant application? Do you know anything about it?
It's one that's been on the, are you talking about the Missoula or the
Missoula.
museum? I think Lisa's going to put the museum.
Okay.
Do you want to explain to them what the project's about?
You want to skip on down to me? You ready to go to?
Is that what we're
You're not
talking
here to
about?
talk about Missoula, are you? You're here to talk about?
No, she's talking about the museum,
Yeah, I'm talking about,
Missoula.
does anyone have any discussion about Missoula?
It's, okay, I can talk about it's a great program, and brings children into an area every year. It's been going on since I've been in town. And it brings a lot of children into an area that they may never have an opportunity to go into. I've seen a couple of generations now that have participated in it. And so I'm a big supporter of it. I'm not involved in it, but I just think it's a great program.
I may be mistaken, but I think that this is actually a traveling thing, so it's not just a local, okay, yeah, so they come in from out of town and they do this all across the United States? I
Yeah,
believe.
Yes.
So,
it is like all
yeah.
across the United States.
my daughter's done it for a few years, so.
And
no,
your
it's
wife was in
really
it.
exciting, so, oh, see, there you go, been doing it for a long time, didn't even know that, new information. It's prior history. So no, I would like to continue helping with that, if that's possible.
And I think that what some of the money is used for those, they bring a troupe of college students to help put it together every year and work with the children. They work with them for a week. And so that helps pay for the hotels because they have to house the students and feed them. That's part of the contract.
I saw hotels here, $15.50, so that's about what we're donating, so it's good, I think.
Any more discussion or a motion?
I move that we fund it.
I'll second.
Call for the vote.
So what?
Call for the vote.
Yes, call for a vote.
Allen,
Yes.
Majors,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Dickinson,
Yes.
Hawkins.
Yes.
Next item is discuss possibly recommend council action regarding the grant applications for Mays County Historical Society Incorporated for design and implementation of a
No,
website
you're up.
for the Kauai Museum for the amount of $5,000.
That's me. So, how many of you have been to the museum?
Unfortunately, I can't say.
Oh. Well, the Mays County Historical Society has been, they had their first meeting 52 years ago. And they have, for 53 years, been incorporated in a charitable organization. So way back in 1982, they found that the train depot, that was where the Kentucky Fried Chicken building was available. And so they were able to move that all the way over to by McDonald's and Goldie's off of Highway 69 and make that into a museum. And then later in 1982, they added an art gallery. So all this time, we've had this great museum with some fascinating artifacts in there, over all of Mays County. Not just Pryor, but all of Mays County. And we have a great history to tell. And we're in a great spot. And so I thought it would be interesting. We had a meeting on Sunday that we had 66 folks come to see a presentation on the tornado that had come through Pryor. But I thought I'll pull the visitor's guide and see. So for just this last 2 months, we've had 184 visitors at the museum. They have been here from Dallas, Fort Worth, Lubbock, Kilgore, Texas, Charlotte, North Carolina, California, Mound City, Kansas, Motley, Minnesota, Tahlequah, Tulsa, Ponca City, Bartlesville, Oklahoma City, and Claremore. That's just in the last 2 months. So we are wanting funding for a website. We really need that. We need that to reach everyone that comes through and is looking for a place to stop in Mays County. It would give us a place to highlight our history, to highlight the culture, a place to know what to do when they come to this area. And so that's what we're asking for, $5,000. We also have funding that we have available that we will pay to help do that too. But that's to build a website that will have pictures and tell the story of Mays County and tell the culture and have a place so that they can join. They can donate if they want to donate to our organization. And I think it's our next step in moving us into the times for our organization. So we respectfully ask for that from the board. Do you have any questions?
So your website will have more than just the museum on it? It will have other things in the area also, or what's?
Well, our museum is about our area. You know, it's about Locust Grove and Choteau and Adair and Salina. I mean, if you come and visit, you'll see that we have, you know, the salt kettles from Choteau, the pipes, the wood water pipes from Salina that they hand built, the Indian sashes. We have 2 Indian sashes from before the Trail of Tears, which was in 1839. We have artwork from local artists. We have railroad memorabilia from the railroad that was here. We have memorabilia from when we had prisoners of war camp. Did you know there was a prisoners of war camp here in Mays County? And our veterans. So, yeah, it's something that's going to highlight not only where we came from, but where we are today.
Have you already gotten quotes for this website? That just seems
We do.
like a lot for a website, and I don't know.
Well,
I'm
it's
not
in
like-
different stages. We do have that from Brooks Digital is one. We've had a couple, but Brooks was the one that we really liked the best. And it's going to take time with us working for him to build that.
Yeah.
You know, because you're going to have to come up with photos and stories and, you know, different categories. But yeah, I do have his
I just didn't
proposal
know where you
here.
were, like, in the process of, yeah.
And just doing videos. We talked about videoing someone that's 101 that had lived through the tornado. So those are things that we hope to do also to preserve our history before it's gone.
But also to answer what you asked, there will also be a specific tourism area page on that website for historical tourism, tying it back to things that are in the museum. And I think, you know, the more we promote our tourism and our attractions, the more money comes in, so we have money here and money
Well,
in sales tax.
Mays County has one of the richest histories in the whole
And we don't
state
promote it
of
enough.
Oklahoma.
I agree with you. And it will make us hopefully more of a destination. So that people
Well, we've
will
had
come.
people, they drive down 69 or Jefferson Highway, whatever you want to call, coming through. We've had several that just say, oh, we just like to drive through the small towns and stop at the museums that we see. We've had people that their goal was to go to every depot or find something about railroad in every county. They travel the whole state taking pictures and that's on Facebook, you know, publicizing that on Facebook. But any other questions?
Yeah, out of curiosity, just because, again, unfortunately, I'm disconnected from it. How do you guys normally, how do you come up with your funds for your normal operation, out of curiosity?
Well, we do have some endowments where we get money off of CDs, which has been very minimal. So we do have money in CDs. And then we have dues, we have membership dues that we get, and that's an annual thing. We just started our membership, if you're interested in joining. But, and then we have, from donations. People have been generous, and they've donated. And we have phenomenal volunteers.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got, from when I started taking a count at February of 2024, we've logged over 2,600 hours. And I'm sure that's not even, I'm not counting today or what I've spent, there's lots of hours that aren't even logged in. But, we've replaced the roof, we painted the inside, painted the outside. That was with a grant. We've had paneling donated to us, all volunteer work that cut it, put that in, built new cabinets. We just have I can't say enough about the volunteers that work.
And you've had people make donations of supplies to be able to
Yes.
do that.
In
It's-
kind.
I think it's been a remarkable, because I've kind of watched it all along, and it's been a remarkable operation,
Thank you.
just remarkable. And those of you who were in it before and go now, you wouldn't believe it's the same place.
And what had happened was the lady that ran it, and COVID came, and then the folks that were running it just couldn't do it anymore, and they just kind of handed the keys over and walked away. So that was back in 2023, and so we've reorganized, and this is what we've done since that time.
And so you've only been helping since that point?
Right, it was closed for maybe a year or 2
Didn't remember
years, something
that,
like
okay.
that, was closed. But we still had the nonprofit, right? It was still up to date.
Right.
That was.
And just for my knowledge, have you explored are there any grants available or anything like that to help?
Well, we did get the Oliver D. Mayer Foundation gave us a grant to do all the painting, for that project. But not this specific project, no. And we had another local group give us some more money that allowed us to paint the ceiling, thank goodness, when we were in the middle of doing all that. But
And repair the outside that had problems,
what's that?
the eaves outside.
Oh, well, part of that
all of
paint
that.
project
It's-
was to
Like I said, it's been a remarkable.
repair all that, yes. Yes, and we had volunteers actually, replace some of the wood, carved out, some of the doorables. Is that right? For the eaves, so. But no matter what decision you make, I want to invite all of you to come to the museum and come and visit, because we appreciate all the input. And
I have one more question. So you kind of know what your attendance is now, or has been over the last year or so. What's your expectation with being able to publicize on a website? What's your hope for?
well, right now we're getting like close to 1,000 visitors a year. That's in the last. One was 983. One was 914. So, with a website and be able for people, no, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that.
Okay.
But it has to be more than, and we thought we'd done pretty remarkable with, just Facebook and an open sign.
And also, once they get the website up, there's free publicity from Travel OK, from the Oklahoma Department of Tourism, from Burn Country Tourism Marketing, and all kinds of other well-traveled websites that will help promote the
we're
museum.
on Travel Oklahoma
And
right
send
now. We
people
just
to
don't
their
have
website.
a link to put on there. But even linking with the City of Pryor's website, that would be great.
Yeah. Awesome.
Any other discussions or a motion?
No, I don't have any other questions or anything.
Okay, thank you.
So much.
You bet.
Appreciate your time.
Do we have a motion?
I make the motion to approve it.
Have a second?
I will second.
Okay, I'll call for a vote for approving the $5,000 website grant to the Mays County Historical Society.
Majors,
Yes?
Williams,
Yes.
Dickinson,
Yes.
Hawkins,
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is discuss possibly recommend council action regarding amending resolution 2014-10, resolution of statement of intent of the city of Pryor Creek, Oklahoma regarding the use and allocation of hotel motel tax revenues. Do we all get a copy of that?
Yeah,
Yes, it's there.
Okay.
it's behind that. Yeah.
Okay, so since I've been the chairman of this, I've been kind of tasked with the idea of updating this resolution that we've been using for several years now. Kind of update it to try to bring a new vision to the board and try to set some new goals for the board. Seems like we're spending our money every year, and there's a movement that maybe we should be saving some back to do something bigger at the town, that maybe we could save up some money to have some available for grants or other bigger projects. So we kind of have up for discussion tonight that changes that would go to this resolution that would then be presented to the city council for approval or rejection, or they also have it up for discussion. So the resolution, the main changes to the resolution, as I have proposed it up for discussion here, and I'm just one person, and I've gotten input from outsiders and people on the board to make these changes. The main change was to change the allocation, the percentage allocated, the 40% still going to the chamber, the 10% going to Main Street, but there would not be 20% going to the school system. And instead, that money would be reallocated to a 50% separate account that would be used for grants. The chamber, Main Street, the school, anyone else in Pryor would be available to fill out grants for that money, but it would give us a chance to have more direction over how that money was used. And also then what's proposed is what's left over that we don't spend would go into a fund that would be saved for future use, and the board, as it's proposed, would attempt to make that rollover amount bigger each year so that we could save up some money to be able to be a contributing partner into some bigger projects around the town. And that, I think, is what people have been asking me about, and the way I feel we should also direct, and that's why I proposed this. And the second part of this resolution that I proposed was adding a tier system to the application process. One of the problems the board has had whenever we have applicants, there wasn't really much guidance in what the town gave us about how to say yes or what to say no to. So everything by default almost became a yes because there wasn't grounds to be skeptical of anything. So what I've proposed here is the tier system, which is tier 1 applicants. these tiers would be chosen on the application, so it was clear between the applicants and the board, and then with the city whenever it gets to that point also. So tier 1 applicants would be mostly local target audience, with Pryor area getting the residents out to attend, but not really drawing people from outside the area. And there would be in the application, there would be an understanding that unless you could articulate that substantial impact in attendance was going to be made by these funds that were being allocated, that the board would likely reject that unless you could explain to us how this money really was needed, even though it was a local event. And tier 2 was local and regional target audience. That was a one-day event where the board knows that it's drawing in different people from outside the area, but we would still need the applicants to explain to us how those funds would be used to raise attendance and also generate tax dollars back for the money that we are providing. And then tier 3 that they could check on the application process would be a local or regional target audience with multiple nights when there are events, which is more likely to generate hotel stays and thus tax dollars to give the board a better return on its investment. And that's really the type of stuff that I think we should be looking for with the board, and then taking the tier 2s and the tier 1s as they come if they're justified. So I've presented this up for discussion. I forwarded it to the other board members, so hopefully they could read it, and it was a last minute deal. And it's obviously all up for discussion, and I'm expecting discussion, so if you guys have any discussions.
Could I address the committee?
Yeah, you want to talk? Yes, for sure.
I do. I've got some handouts.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so I became aware that there had been discussion. I'm sorry, I haven't met everyone, so I'm Lisa Muller. I'm the superintendent of Pryor Public Schools, and I became aware only recently that there was discussion about eliminating the school district's percentage in this fund. And I do understand why that could be considered, especially when the perception, of course, and in many ways the reality is that the school has a lot of resources. One of the things that we don't have a lot of resources for are the things that we use this money to pay for. So if you'll look on the handout at the very bottom, you'll notice that the listing of things that I've provided, and I can go over some highlights of it, all of these come through what's called activity fund expenditures. And by state law, we cannot use what's called our general fund, which is our main budget. We cannot use that to purchase food or to purchase any clothing items, are the two big pieces. So if you see a t-shirt that someone's given out, or you are going to an event that's providing food, those things can't be bought with our usual regular budget by law. So we have to depend on activity funds, and the money that we receive from here is directly deposited into our activity fund, and it's split 80% to athletics and 20% to district level and student support. So the predominant way that we spend that athletic piece is by supporting our tournaments. So when you think about the pit tournament that we have every year, our annual wrestling tournament, we bring people in from all over who spend multiple days. You mentioned multiple day events, spend multiple days here, and we provide a hospitality room for those coaches who are in and coming in. That's kind of a standard expectation for those kinds of tournaments, and we use these funds to support that. We've recently started our Athletic Hall of Fame. The lunch that we provided for the people who were being inducted to the Hall of Fame, the plaques we gave them, all of those things came from this fund. The 80% is the predominant piece. Then the other 20% we use for various district level staff and student support. The bridge camp that we offer for our students who are coming into middle school for 6th grade, the lunch that's provided during that bridge camp comes from this fund. While it's hard to believe right now with the rain and the cool weather we've been having in the summer when we first start school and it's so hot, we're able to provide water, bottled water on buses using this fund. The other pieces, when we have our new teachers, we're welcoming them to Pryor Public Schools in that new teacher training, which is off contract time. That's an extra part for those new staff members. We provide them lunch on those days and we use this fund for it. So none of those things that we do with this money can legally be done with our other sources of income. So if we were not to have this available, that would go back to, particularly the athletics, would have to go back to booster clubs, to other people parents essentially, who help raise money to support their sports. And it would funnel away some of the money that they typically use to support the students directly into these other events. So we also, of course, particularly with the athletics focus of those tournaments, we are bringing people into our area. They're spending money while they're here. When they finish wrestling or they finish playing basketball, they're probably stopping somewhere else with their kids to eat on the way home, or the parents are going out because they're not eating in the hospitality room. So parents are going to get food. There certainly are teams who stay depending on how far they come in for that. So this is generating directly money for the city. We also make a very concerted effort that all of our purchases that come from this money are local purchases. So we're supporting our local restaurants predominantly with this fund. So it's all going back into the community as far as the fund piece. So I understand how there can be like, why does the school need this particular money? Because we are blessed with benefiting from our local tax base, and we absolutely do, but we can't use that pot of money for this kind of expenditure. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have about that.
I do have a question.
Yes.
Just because I'm looking at our old, I guess our resolution from 2014 specifically says that the 20% we give to you yearly was supposed to be used for band day. And this doesn't look like band day.
Yeah, no, we haven't had band day recently, yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, regardless, that has to be something that's changed and discussed. And I have zero issue with like the Hall of Fame or hospitality rooms. But if we're really taking a turn for this as being a tourism / bringing money back in, I love the schools. As a parent of 2 kids in the public school system, I still don't understand how bus water supply, staff celebrations, district showcase events, like how that's helping tourism. So it's just, this is why it's hard, because I don't understand what I'm supposed to be doing.
And I'm probably the biggest hypocrite here because I've eaten in the hospitality room many times, and I enjoy it. JL's night on championship, it's a great time to eat in the hospitality room. So I don't want you to think I'm against Pryor schools or against either. Like we said, the schools would still be available to get a grant. So a grant maybe for summer bridge camp meals if that was something that, I'm not sure that even fits in what we're trying to do with the hotel motel board though, really. And with the events, the Pryor tournament's been going on, my whole life. It's been a huge event, and I don't think it got any bigger because of the hotel motel money we give it. So that's where
It's certainly that money takes away a burden on our families.
yeah, it absolutely does. I know other towns use their booster clubs to do that kind of stuff.
So what I was surprised to see the proposal to eliminate our portion entirely without affecting any other entity that's receiving funding. So I would, if you are, looking at options, I would ask that you not eliminate our portion entirely, because it would be a significant challenge for us to address these needs without the money that's coming in. Our portion this past year was about $16,000. So it's, it's enough that it makes a difference, certainly for our programs. So.
Yeah.
I might have a solution to that.
Do you want to discuss that?
I'm just trying to, because I want to
It's a
help. I
no-win
just am trying to
situation
figure
for
out,
us.
like, what are we supposed to do, because we're supposed to fit a I don't know what I'm.
No, well, after reviewing this and kind of thinking about it and kind of listening to Dr. Miller as well, from the chamber perspective, so let me give you the chamber's perspective and how this money we use. And Barbara knows this more than anybody because she was one of the ones that helped start this program. This was in 1998 when this was established. So from the chamber perspective, a lot of the advertising that's been done in the past has been centered more around Rocklahoma, Country Fever, Damn Jam, things of that nature, which is, in the beginning, we were trying to get people to come here for those concerts and to promote those, because those are more kind of a destination, one time of the year program where you want everybody to come to town. Well, along with that, there are other activities within Mays County, but I 100% feel like that we have lots of opportunities to get tourism to make Pryor a destination. One of the things that we talked about tonight was using the Kauai Museum as a destination to get people to come here. So I believe in tourism, but I believe that that money needs to be spent in specific areas to get tourism here. Putting a lot of money into a lot of magazines across the state, I don't feel like gets people to come to Pryor. Now, we can showcase our dining, we can showcase our hotels, we can showcase all of that. But from my perspective at the chamber, if you look at my letter that I gave you guys, there are other things that we can do, like putting it into our website, putting it into their website, trying to put different things on our website which would encourage people to come here. Also with maps and all the things that we showcase at the chamber that we could put that money into. But there's another element of that too. The chamber, we have fixed costs. So in order for us to stay open, we've got to make sure that we take care of it. And membership alone will not pay the fixed costs. Membership alone will not pay their fixed costs. So from my perspective, what I would like to clarify for the piece that I get at the chamber, first of all, I'm willing to reduce that. And if we reduce it, and let's just say you're going to take 10% from the schools, and you take 10% from me, then that gives, or whatever that number may be, then you've got that money that you can use for that bucket that you're wanting to do. But with that 30% that I would receive, what I would like is clarification on how much needs to be spent on tourism, and then how much of that can I use for my fixed costs. And if we can do that, if you say, Houston, if I get $40,000 and I want $20,000 or $25,000 of that to go towards tourism for all of these magazine ads and all the things we want to do, and I will also offer up another solution. Typically, the chamber comes and asks for grants to get the Okie Homestead, the Boat Sport and Tackle Show, Bluegrass and Chili Festival, which brings a lot of people downtown. I would not ask for that. I would use that out of the allocated amount of money that I get to promote those events, therefore leaving that additional percentage in the bucket that you could use for somebody else to come in and get a grant. If that makes sense. So we're still taking care of the schools. We're pulling some from the chamber. I have an understanding of what I need to spend on tourism itself, and then what I can use for my fixed costs, because we got to leave the lights on, we got to pay payroll, we got to do all those things, and my membership and events alone will not pay for that. So if I have some fixed cost out of that allocated money to do the job for the city to promote tourism, then I feel that's in all fairness what we should get, if that makes sense. But I will entertain any questions.
No, I appreciate your heart for sure, man. I mean, that puts a lot more pain on you to make sure that other people
That's
can
right.
also
We'll find
appreciate
other
hearing
ways.
that, so.
We'll find other ways, and
Yep.
I believe in the schools. I believe in what these guys are doing, and we'll find ways to make up additional money and we've already started doing that, because I knew at some point in time we would have conversations about this. But it's easier for me to turn in a report to you at the end of the year based on, and I will tell you right now, in the hotel motel tax, I'm already over it. I'm $12,000 over in tourism right now and things that we've spent to help promote this city. But what I want to do is turn in a report showing exactly what I did for tourism and exactly what I used for fixed costs. And as long as they match those percentages, you guys are happy, we're happy. And the hope is that we continue to bring more people, that balance goes up. And now I do believe that there's gonna be a resolution at the city council to have the state collect those taxes for us now and not depend on our locals to do that. That will be coming in the next city council meeting, which will help us because now the state will collect that money for us. And we won't have a deficit like we did last year because we didn't get to collect all the hotels that were out there. So those balances last year should have been larger than they were. But I think we fixed that problem too. And then in the end, we're all on the same page and we're all doing exactly. Because I do believe that if you set aside a fund where you can match, and you're building that fund up and you got someone, a business or something wants to come into town or whatever event, you can match to get them to help and use that fund to do that to help support some other local projects.
So you're suggesting that we reduce your percentage to 30%?
Yes.
And then you want some guidance about,
How much of that 30% I need to spend on tourism and how much that I can spend for my fixed costs.
Do you know how much you spent last year
Right now, we're at 42,000 and I only received 30.
for tourism? And that's aside from the grants that you got to help?
I only got one grant this year, and that was for, well, we actually got two, which went through the chamber, was for the Bluegrass and Chili Festival, and then we did the 3,500 for the Oakley Homestead. For the Bluegrass, or the boat show, we paid it out of the chamber. It just went straight, I didn't ask for a grant. The Christmas
Okay, but
parade,
that-
Christmas
So was
parade, we
that in
didn't
the
ask for a grant either.
42,000?
Huh?
Was that in the 42,000 you just?
And then the 3,500, well, we spent 4,000 on the parade this year, that came out of the chamber, and I didn't ask for a grant for that.
You didn't do
so you're also saying that you won't come back for grants unless it's some.
Unless it's some astronomical event that we feel like that we need
Yeah, I don't wanna
to, that I
limit
need.
you from coming for grants.
Yeah, and it also, I have to look at my budget and my balance too, as funds. If I don't have the funds to be able to do it out of there, then I might say, hey, I wanna come to you guys and offer to get you guys to give me support to do that. Especially if it's a brand new event or something that's gonna bring a lot of people
that's
to
fair
town.
enough.
I appreciate you bringing up, I actually had a very similar thought today, just based on, you're our largest percentage, obviously. When we're looking at budgets, you look at the big numbers.
Yeah.
And so I really appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, absolutely. We're team players. Yep.
So, just so we're clear on how his money is spent, I'm okay myself with just saying, the chamber's business is good enough for the hotel motels money. Are you guys wanting something more elaborate than that? So we set the expectations clearly here. Do we want it to be 10% somehow verifiable with advertising or tourism and 20% operational, or is it 0 operational? Is there any discussions there?
Is there a
Would you-
reason we have to come to a resolution at this junction for that discussion? I mean, I would just love some opportunity to soak it in a little bit too, so I'm
You
kinda making sure.
you have obviously expenses for your website,
Yes,
which are legitimate.
yes.
For
And for
tourism.
Inspire Mays County too, which is literally, we're promoting the
Well,
whole
that's-
county with that one
Is
as well.
the chambers assuming all of that?
Yes, that is our
Okay.
baby.
You also have, that I think is a legitimate tourism expense, because I know the kind of printing you do for everyone, and when there's an event. So I think that a lot of your expenses that you look at as operational, I would probably say are legitimate tourism expenses.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Rather than,
second
I
that.
have a problem, and I actually talked to Dean about it, it's a semantic problem. And I know it is, but a utility bill,
yes,
it's like that, I can't,
right,
but those other expenses, you have a lot
right.
that is just day-to-day operation for you.
Yes.
But if you sit down and kind of look at your budget, can be moved over.
And I went through that today before, just to see kind of where we're at. If I take, let's say, for instance, the electric bills and all of those things out of there, we're good. We've spent a substantial amount of money this year on tourism. And wasn't all fixed in one area. It wasn't Green Country. I mean, we do have an amount we did spend at Green Country, but we spent other areas on our websites and things like that. And then we've got some really good ideas of some other things that we want to do to help promote Pryor, using our website to do that. So,
Websites are good utilization, I think, of this money,
I
you
agree
know,
too.
because it gets broader outside of ourselves and outside of our four walls.
right.
So are you comfortable with the whole 30% just being like it has been, open to approval, or do you want some of it set for operating where you don't have to?
I want the expectation from you guys. So if you're giving me 30% of money, Houston, I want you to spend 15% or whatever on that on tourism and all those operational things, and then a certain percentage towards the fixed cost. Which I do believe with Barbara that probably the smaller percentage is going to be what I can utilize as fixed costs, and then the rest I can use for tourism.
Identify maybe, or educate me your definition on what you're saying is fixed
Yeah,
costs.
Well, that's
I'm thinking-
electricity, that's payroll, that's
Something that
keeping the lights, the printer. Because so we print a lot of stuff on our printer, which could be used as tourism because we're actually printing promotional items and things like that as well. So those are some of the things that we had thrown into that bucket as operational expense.
Okay.
I would have to just look at the list to see exactly what we can. Yeah, Growzone. So one of the things that we used last year was Growzone. Growzone is our operating system. It's a brand new operating system, and that system, we use that for all of our events. So anything that's coming here, we're using that system to promote and generate and bring people here. So I would consider that as part of marginal operation and some tourism. So that we've kind of a 50-50.
Right, no, and I feel like that almost is 100% where I think the board is wanting to go as far as what we would want to spend money on is attracting that business, more local, not as much local,
Right.
but more from outside of our bounds, in here to specifically stay at the hotels.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you're confident at 30%, you're good with that?
Yes.
And presenting your receipts for us for that, you're confident you can present us receipts that we won't necessarily have to nitpick away?
Sure.
You can give us
Yeah.
dead sure things that we can
Absolutely.
see. instantly.
Absolutely, because if you also think about it too, if I'm not going to be coming in here and asking for grants, there's an allotment of that money that's already spent. Because we will promote the Okie Homestead, because that brings in thousands of people. We will promote our Christmas parade. We will promote the Bluegrass and Barbecue Festival that we will be doing this year. And we will promote our boat tackle show because they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger every single year,
And
and
if
they
you
love
do
it
all of
here.
that, I think you're going to be
I'm gonna be,
above the 30%, and you
I
won't
don't
have to worry about
yes,
I don't think we should sit here and say, I'm not
payroll
going
and
to
things
apply
with it,
yeah.
you know.
I'm not sure if I want to completely cut you off for the opportunity
Yeah,
either,
no.
though, as we both continue to grow, right? I'm not thinking about
Yes.
tomorrow, I'm
Yeah.
thinking about 10 tomorrows,
Yeah.
10 years from now.
Yeah.
When we're there looking at updating this again, and what they'd be able to be looking at.
Right.
And so I don't want to cut ourselves short either. If we're building up money and you have an opportunity that you want to present to us outside of your normal 30% that really makes sense in 5 years, I don't want to say no to
Yeah,
that today,
absolutely.
right?
I don't
Okay.
think
So,
I think if something
especially with you
comes
being
up-
willing to come in and say, hey, this is what I'm willing to do to make sure that we can get,
You, like-
financials where they need to be.
Yeah.
So,
Any other organization in town, I think, could come, if you have something that's really interesting and it's gonna take you above the tourism budget,
Yeah,
that you've already, the 30%.
and that's on the basis of understanding that we're looking at making sure that we're, falling into better guidelines to what we've
Sure.
been discussing here as well. So,
absolutely. Which is good for you and good for me,
yes, absolutely, yeah.
because then I don't have to go home and worry about what I'm spending the money on and being able to answer to it, so.
Right.
So,
So that's why I didn't prove it. I didn't propose a cut to you because what your entity does is entirely what this board is supposed to be promoting.
Right.
So, but I definitely appreciate you offering the 10% cut.
Okay.
Is that, anybody else for him?
Yep,
Anybody else have any questions? Yep.
No, I
okay,
appreciate it.
okay.
Thank you, Houston. Could you come back up? Does that do anything for you we just lower you to 10%, would that be acceptable to
You know,
you?
certainly, we would appreciate it not having the funds eliminated entirely. I would advocate for maybe a smaller cut than half, but certainly I understand that you all have to balance the different needs and goals of the work. But I do believe that we are instrumental in economic development. The public schools play a huge role in that in multiple ways, both in bringing people in for our events and by getting recognition for the city. One of the things that we used these funds for was supporting our visits that we had by our National Leader and Me team when Roosevelt was named as a legacy school. That is something that got nationwide attention and brings people in here to see the school and the district. So it's beyond these pieces, while it may not seem directly tied to economic development, it is tied because of the people we bring in, the money they spend in the community while they're here, and the money we spend in the community when we use these funds to support our local businesses.
Thank you.
I think also, though, if you have like national, I remember years ago when Leader and Me first started, and we hosted the state leadership organization. I think maybe Yvette came and got some money from here. And I think for things like that, we would all be open to additional.
I think if we could get to the point where 10% was good, and then you could apply for grants if there was some other thing that was just leaving you too short that was going to generate tax money for this town. Maybe that's a solution. Like, we're not saying you can't come back and
And I too appreciate Houston's willingness to allow that percentage. That was very generous, and I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And especially if you have something going on that's going to bring people in to fill the hotels, which again is what generates all the money for this. It would be.
I'm just trying to think of like a word.
So I think I would propose to restore the paragraph to, and this is still just up for debate, the allocation of 10% to the Pryor Public Schools. And reducing the chambers to 30%. And both definitely welcome to apply for the other.
But we've also dropped Band Day, right?
So what's that?
We've also dropped the 10% to Band Day.
Yeah, they're definitely eliminate the
That's been out.
verbiage about
Yeah.
Band
And
Day.
I think we made an
So I was
amendment
just thinking
shortly
that
after I
maybe
became on board that took care of
even
that.
5%
We
of
haven't been
that.
approving funds for Band-Aid, but it's not out of the resolution. It's still-
Oh, it's not yet? Oh, okay.
We haven't updated the resolution at all.
Okay, okay.
But in our proposals each year,
Right, it has
you all
definitely.
approved that without any reference to Band-Aid for a
Okay.
number of years.
Okay. That's interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, so we'll restore that paragraph minus the last section of that sentence that talks about 20% going to Band Day. Unless you want to bring that back, that was an amazing event back in the day.
It was.
And definitely brought a lot of people to town.
You do have a new stadium here.
Yes, yes. Mr. Speakman might consider that with a new facility.
Get Mr. Jackson back after.
I love that one.
So, does anybody have any discussion about the usage of the 50% of the funds, going, so I set that up where 50% of it goes into our allocation pool every year. Not necessarily so we give away 50% of it, definitely don't give away 50% of it, but so that it is available if something does come up in any given year. And try to set in here the expectations that we would try to make that amount grow each year. So we're investing in our future with this, and
Correct.
hopefully when somebody comes to us with a grant where we can help out with something like, maybe even the swimming pool or the motocross trail they're thinking about putting in out there, that kind of stuff, we can be a contributor to something bigger that will bring in people to the town. Is there any discussion about that, about changing any of that paragraph?
Do we have to, and this might be for like legal to look at, but like, do we have to put something in
How
there?
much does Main
Hold on a
Street,
second.
oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I'm not as loud.
No, go ahead.
Do we have to put something in there with legal, might have to look in this about if we don't use it, it has to go to a certain account to build, you know, like, I don't know how that works.
Yeah, and I've tried to put it in
Do you know what he's
there,
trying to say?
About what?
and definitely.
Like if it's not used, it goes to a
It rolls
specialized account.
over into next year usually.
No, I mean, like, I think it goes into a special account for saving it, or does that, is that what we're talking about for like
So-
a bigger project?
So the way I'm trying to set this up is the account that we have the 50% in will be the savings account.
Okay,
It will just get bigger every year, so it won't be in a separate account, it would be in this one account. But this account will be separate from the money that's allocated
For
out to
grants.
the other people. So this is kept separate. Like right now, what I learned is that the 10% reserve that we do every year was just not being put into a reserve account. It was being put back into the allocation and then being given out the next year. So I thought we were saving that for something big, but we weren't. We were just giving it out the next year. So
So that 10% was to be kind of if you ran completely out, you would have something to start with.
the next year,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I just want to clarify your statement here.
Okay.
So we have 100% of the money. I'm going to receive 30%, 10% Main Street, 10%. Then you're going to take the other 50%, put it into the pot for the grants, minus the 10% that you're going to set aside to roll over or to have on stock, kind of like having an escrow. Or are you just going to put it all into 50% and just say?
I haven't proposed any kind of an escrow because I did that because I didn't want to put limitations on what could be available
Got it.
in
Okay.
any given year.
Yeah.
So let's say there's $70,000 in there and you come to us where somebody wants to put in a
Okay.
water park.
Okay.
Well, then we can do a 70,000. We don't have to worry about where it's at.
So then that gives you 50% to really work with and to really offer, and then to be able to save some of that as well and roll
Yeah.
over.
And
And then I just want to add to this, is that we, with the state now going to be the one collecting. And here's the other thing that I would ask you guys to consider. Bed and breakfasts, VRBOs, all of those things exist here, but we're only collecting from just our regular hotels. So if you were to try to incorporate that in there, especially if the state is collecting those taxes, then I can see the amount of money that we have available going up. And the more it goes up, 10%, 30%, 10%, it's more money for us to be able to use and more money to put into that.
I talked to the ordinance board last night about adding Airbnbs to this pot, and they're supposed to be working on that, so that will increase
Yep.
hopefully increase our revenue. It can't hurt it for sure, so.
So it can be
Good deal.
any type of like short-term rentals, is that what, like
Could you say that louder? I can't hear you.
VRBOs, Airbnbs, any type of the short-term rentals, is that what they're working on?
Yes.
Okay.
And there's even talk about possibly RV parks if they're short-term, so people are coming and instead of staying in our hotels, they're staying in an RV to avoid our hotels. Maybe there's some way we can.
Well, and this is what other cities do. And so if you look around some of the other cities, they collect from all of that, and they have very nice amounts of money to be able to do things and promote tourism and all those things.
And the town they were talking about doing the tax commission collecting, which would be a big boost for us. We'll get our money for sure that way. I know right now we have a big rollover for next year that will be added to next year's distribution.
The cost associated with that, with having the state, is 0.05%. So they get a little piece of that for doing their administrative side of it, and we get the money collected.
That is the other thing also. You'll have a little bit more time to adjust because there was, I think it was over a $50,000 payment that wasn't included in this year's fiscal budget that will be included in next, so even getting your percentage cut in half, you may be getting about the same amount because of that 50.
You're gonna get more than 16,000.
You're gonna, yep, I was gonna say, it's gonna add up this year over, yeah.
Yeah, so then if we can get the Airbnbs added and, you know, you may not be out too much, maybe the booster clubs can pick up some of that stuff, or, I don't, athletic gate fees or something might be applied a little bit more. Any more discussion on that section of it? Any changes you guys think?
I don't have any, I think it's,
Very helpful to have that.
correct, have a reserve and have, that way if there is something that we could match to bring something big to the city, that would be huge. Just, the decisions we make today affect us 10 years from now, so looking towards the future and building, I think that's huge.
And right now, our funds are held in an account that gets 1%. It's told that we can move it to a money market and get 2%. And if we're doing long-term savings like this, we could possibly get into a CD account that gets us 4.25% currently, but that's a fluctuating percentage. But so we could treat it more like an investment, and it would still be available if something pops up or somebody needs to use it. So
I like the tier 1, 2, 3 designation a lot.
I
I
do
think it
too.
clarifies not only a lot of things for this board, moving forward, but it also clarifies a lot for the applicants as far as the desire of what it is that we're willing to pay, without just them coming up here and us feeling like maybe we should, so.
Yeah.
yeah, that's something we struggled with about saying no. It's like
Well,
somebody comes in with a great idea, and you have to have some justification for
You look
telling
at your
them no.
laws and you're like, I don't know, yeah, it doesn't really, yeah.
Yeah, even though you might love their thing, maybe it doesn't bring tax money to the town. So, and that's what we should be shooting for here, is to bring in sales tax and bring activity to the town and grow the town. The other thing I did change that I didn't mention, and hopefully you guys have read through this, but I did on the application, on the paragraph A, on the application part right above the tiers, I did change that. I inputted that where the application opening date and process should be made available to the public, clarifying funds are available to both nonprofit and for-profit entities and individuals at the discretion of the Hotel Motel Board. So that's a clarification that I tried to add to make sure that people know the money is available, which I think is an issue. And also, there's some movement out there that it should only be available, or they thought it was only available to nonprofits, but if there is a for-profit entity or an individual that has some brilliant idea that could bring money to the town, I think we should at least hear it, and we can always vote it down if it's not something we think is a good idea. So I didn't want to limit tie our hands in that manner. So I just want to make sure that was noted, and because that was a change that I put in there.
Yeah, it's something we've talked about multiple times
yeah.
up here, so.
What's that?
Something we've talked about multiple times,
Yeah,
that people weren't clear
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
when they could apply, so.
And that way, there was some talk about everything running through Houston and running through a nonprofit, and you get a sponsor, but Houston has plenty of stuff to do, and
Let's put more on Houston.
if they're really bringing us something, maybe they could figure out how to fill out the application and come talk to us too. But if you want to do it for them, then by all means, do it for them.
Yeah, if I knew it would be on their behalf, it won't be, and a lot of times, I mean, they wanna come through the chamber, because I know how to do the application process and all of that stuff. But if it's a big enough attraction, I think it's gonna work, then yes, I'll do it for them.
Yeah, and in the role you're in, you can always facilitate someone filling it out or direct them
Yeah.
how to do it, so they can do it themselves, or you can, if you feel like they aren't capable of doing it themselves for some reason, you could always help them out. And this is all just, it sounds like we're pretty close on it. Maybe if I change that percentage for the chamber and add back the school's percentage. Is there anything else you guys think needs to be changed or added while we're doing all this clarification and trying to update the resolution? Or if you like it, based on the changes we said, we can make a motion to accept it, and I'll make some changes to it and send it up next to the city or Chase, whichever one needs to,
I think you have to
make
make
it
that
more
updates
legal.
first, don't we?
what's that?
Don't we have to make the changes first before we?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, I'll change it and then send it to either
Gotcha.
Chase or the city, whichever is the next step.
Should we put the open application date on here, or just make sure that somebody can follow through with that on your A? Other than that, I'm actually, really happy with everything there personally. It gives clarification to a lot of things.
Okay.
Thanks.
Doesn't it depend on when the city budget itself gets put through?
Right, so isn't that technically the same time? Not really? I don't know. How's that?
Yeah, but you want to, because it's relatively late,
Right,
when that's done, you want that open. I would say, not to put it here and lock it in, but to
Okay.
strive to make it like, it's obviously not gonna be June 1st this year, but July 1st.
okay.
So I think in the ordinance, not the resolution that was established, it's hard to remember, honestly, because we haven't used it in a very, very long time. Like the actual defined opening and ending point. I think it starts at June 1st, and then like when you pass the new budget, you're meant to have most of the applications in already. So you would be making those decisions up front in the fiscal year.
Yeah, there was a pretty short window, and I definitely prefer to have it open all year round, especially if we have this carryover.
Well, that's what I'm saying, the only caveat to that is if there happens to be someone comes to town that we don't know about, and that deadline's closed, then we miss that opportunity to apply for a grant for some, just like the Blue Rest and Chili Festival. But we put that together in 3 months, we didn't know it was gonna come here. So I think there needs to be some wiggle room in there.
And I think that's why it was changed over time. Like it was long opened from that when I got here. But they weren't spending all the money right at the start of the fiscal year, and so they wanted to leave things open longer as things came in that were important.
I would wanna leave it.
I do too.
We could do like a 30-day window, publicize it really well before the window happened, and just make that so that if you want, you know what you're doing, have your plans, and you want to get in the first block,
Yes.
that it opens July 1st and closes July 31st, and at that point, we'll take whatever has come in for that month, but then after that, it will still be available.
Or maybe
For
even just
what
making
comes
something
in.
as simple as saying, hey, we're starting our new fiscal year, make sure that you're, paying attention or have, the availability to come, to our meetings. Maybe we don't need to give it a closing and opening date, but make sure that we're announcing our new monies coming out. Hey, guys, don't forget, when their fiscal year starts, so does ours. So, and that way, that would at least jumpstart people's minds if they're not gonna do it in that first 30 or 60 days, but they may think, oh, that's right, I heard that, that maybe I should get in on some of that too, and it would still be open. So maybe just announcing actually, the renewal of our funds, so.
That window is in the ordinance too, and
Yeah,
we don't have
yeah.
the ability to change the ordinance here, that's the ordinance board. What we have control over is this, and I tried to leave it as open-ended as possible.
I like that, I think it is, the opening date and process should be made available public, and I think that's what
We definitely need to make the public
So-
available to it, cause that is one of the things that we've struggled with, is to get people new people to
I
come
brought
in.
that up
Yeah.
because last year, nothing went out about it. And what happened was kind of the inner crowd knew that the money was there and that there was going to be a meeting, so everybody got their grants in. And there were other people who weren't alerted to the fact. Now, it's, I'm sure Terry put it in the paper, but
And last year we had a shortfall.
and then
funds, too.
because of the problem last year, there was no money left.
Yes, and I think that problem will be fixed moving forward, where there's gonna be, because I will tell you, I spoke with Terry, and Terry's been following this since day one, because a lot of people wasn't coming to take advantage of this because they felt like the process was too much. You know, to fill out the grant, to come back, to come back, to come back, to come back. They just didn't feel that that it wasn't worth them to be able to do that or want to do that. So, therefore, the ones who do know how to do it, therefore, you're not gonna come get it, we're gonna come get it. So, I think making it public and educating people on how the process works will probably be helpful as well, and get more people to come and,
And if they don't use it, then it goes to a fund for something bigger later.
Then big, right.
Yeah, if nobody asks for it, that
then that money's
just means
sitting
we get
there
to,
and it just keeps rolling over.
yeah.
And again, you know, I think, the tier 1, 2, 3 is very helpful for other people to be
Yeah.
invited in as well, to understand what it is that we're more willing to approve and look at, so.
I
I like how A's worded personally, so,
Yeah.
because it doesn't say we have to announce a closing date, so,
Yeah,
they're just opening
I
the
mean,
process public, so.
I think just making the minor changes,
Yeah.
making the changes to the chamber and adding back in the paragraph for the school,
Less Band-Aid.
I think it looks good.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to do that.
A second.
So where does it go next, Jay? Does it go to Chase or does it go to,
So you're recommending council action with this motion, so I will be submitting it, I'll try to put it on the next agenda, but I may need to Chase to review it
Okay.
before it can go all the way there. Hopefully it'll be on the agenda for next week, but it may need to be the second meeting in May.
no, that's fine. I just didn't know if Chase had to look at it first or if the chamber, I looked right at you and then said chamber. Or if
So-
the council looks at it and then Chase looks at it.
The big point about getting this done now was we're wanting to have it completely finalized before July the 1st. Because that's when the new allocations happen, so that way it will affect, especially with that $50,000 coming through, we want to get that, as much of that as we can, into this reserve that we're establishing. So we had a motion and a second? Okay, so I'll call for a vote
Make sure.
to accept the resolution as proposed with the changes of the chamber being reduced to 30%, the Pryor Public Schools being added back to 10%, and the sentence about the Band-Aid being removed from the Pryor Public Schools paragraph. Call for vote.
Williams,
Yes.
Dickinson,
Yes.
Hawkins,
Yes,
Allen,
Yes.
Majors.
Yes. Okay, so that's all our items. We need to second that? Okay, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Sure.
Good job. You did good.